All right, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football, coming to you from home base today. A couple reasons. Number one, my portable at school where I shoot all my videos was being cleaned and they were waxing and stripping the floor, so I couldn't get into my normal office. And number two, it's the Open Championship, British Open, as I still refer to it, and I wanted to have it up on my TV and up on my computer so that I can follow everything that's going on at the Open Championship, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Couple prop bets that I made. One round of it has already gone under, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But pretty busy day today. Football this morning, morning workouts, defensive stuff with our varsity, going through our six-man pressures, our hot pressures, and how we label those, and who the blitzers are, and how we rotate coverage behind it, and who the hot player is going to be, and what the corners are doing, and what the path is up front. If you watched any of the videos, some of the videos I've done in the past, or if you were at a clinic that I did 2 weeks ago, on Zoom, I talked about our blitz families and what I think makes it kind of unique and interesting, and how I group all of our blitzes into families, and how those families then indicate to our players who the blitzers are, what the coverage is that we're playing behind it. Is there a rotation to the SAM or away from the SAM? So today was a six-man pressure day, and within those six-man pressures, we were talking about our hot pressure stuff, because we also six-man pressure and we play zero coverage. So when we do that, it falls under a different family. There's different blitzers, and then the coverage component behind it is different. So, you know, our 3 under 3 deeps are all tagged a certain way in families. Our 4 under 2 deeps are all tagged a certain way with families. Our 2 under 3 deep hots are tagged a certain way in families. Our zero pressures are tagged a certain way in families. Our man-free pressures are tagged a certain way. So what that allows us to do is that allows us to, within the family, within the name, it allows us to group the blitzers together that say, hey, these blitzes are always Sam and Mike. These are always Mike and Will. These are always Mike and middle safety. These are always Mike, Will, middle safety. These are always Mike, Will, Sam. And then behind it on the back end, it allows us to take the coverage and say, okay, these are always 3 under 3 deep, rotate to the SAM. These are always 2 under 3 deep, hot, rotate away from the SAM. These are always 4 under 2 deep, zone pressures that we are trapping the flat, and you two guys are always the deep half player. You two guys are always the two-seam or vertical hook players. And when you do that, you know, there's a lot of same as. The terminology gets real simple, but what you sometimes lose the ability to do is have the extreme flexibility to then change. You want the Sam and the Will to go on a blitz. Well, for us, that would be a different family. Now, the good thing about that is you can create, there's so many, ways to create these families. You can carry as many of them as you want. So if you wanted to run pressures that were a boundary corner and the Mike, or a boundary corner and the Will, the way we do it, I would group those into a family so that they know every one of those pressures is, Will, boundary corner, Mike, boundary corner, and then the coverage rotation behind it, they know when they hear the word association in that family that that's always going to be the coverage rotation. So, it allows us to do a lot of things that are same as, and group things together so that when we call blitzes and we're teaching them, we say, all right, guys, this is, for us, this is an NBA team. What does that mean? That means these 3 guys are blitzing. That means this is going to be the coverage. That means the rotation is going to be here. So, some people would look at that maybe and say it's a little bit rigid, not as flexible. You want to be able to draw multiple paths, multiple coverages. But for us in the tempo world, what it allows us to do is it allows us to play fast on defense. So, it allows us to line up to tempo deals. It allows us to say that if a team is ripping it really fast, I can call a pressure with one word. And that word is tied to the front, it's tied to the path, it's tied to the blitzers, it's tied to the coverage. So, from that standpoint, it makes it a little bit easier for us to do those things, a little bit easier for us in the tempo world to play faster, right? So we got a little bit of work today with those calls, and then we got a little bit of individual work. I did some D-line work on our inside stunts that are read stunts, reading off the center, and then I did some 2-man line games with them. So teaching them the difference between 1-gap moves, 2-gap moves, how the footwork's different, who we need to read when we're moving. Some of our long stick stuff, we read the guards. So not only the footwork and what they need to do to long stick, but how they're going to read the guard and where the A-gap really is. And if the guard is out, we got to cross face. If the guard is away, we got to flatten and chase. So gave me some time to work with the D-line while linebackers, secondary coach, and our head coach were throwing 7-on-7. So I was getting D-line work. They were getting 7-on-7 stuff done. And then we finished with a formation period and a pursuit period. So, another hot one here in Florida. Regular temperature, is... Luckily, our workouts are in the morning, so not real terrible, but it still gets hot. Even by 11 o'clock, it gets real hot. Today's temperature is going to be 99. Feel like it's probably going to be 112. So luckily, no thunderstorms, but in the afternoon, you probably, with a wet bulb, the only chance you have getting on the field in Florida, if you have any rules in your state that have anything to do with temperature, wet bulb, feel like temperatures, all those things, if you don't do it, the last 2 days here, or almost the last week here, next week, if you don't do it in the morning, you don't have a chance to get on the field because your trainer or whoever's in charge is going to tell you that it's too hot to get on the field. So after that, the varsity guys went to the weight room. JV guys came out and did offensive work. So they did kind of a tempo RPO deal where I had to work the defensive shell in that. So busy morning this morning outside pretty much the whole morning. And then shooting this video. Today I was going to shoot, I was supposed to shoot I was going to actually do a 6-man pressure video and the difference between our 6-man pressures with who the blitzes are and who the coverages are. But again, they redid my office, so I don't know. I may have a whiteboard here at the house that I might be able to do it on. But this video, that'll get labeled under a podcast like I talked about the other day. This is me just talking about things that are going on. It's a podcast. It's not whiteboard. It's not X and O. So this video gets shot today, got to load it to YouTube. Then I have to shoot a Patreon video. So the Patreon video will be from one of our last 7-on-7s where we only played our 3-deep stuff, post-safety defense. And in the Patreon video, I'll be talking a little bit about how I like to do that in the 7-on-7s. And then I keep a running tally of 7-on-7s that we play with pattern match and then 7-on-7s that we play with post-safety defense. And usually what ends up happening with the results that I have been able to get the last couple of years, when we play 7-on-7 post-safety defense, we give up more completions, but we give up less busts over the top. So when we're playing with our 3-deep rotations, we don't pattern match our 3-deep stuff, so there are way more completions underneath that we have to rally to, but we give up way less busts of throws over the top. When we play our pattern match stuff and there's no pass rush, nobody in the quarterback's face, everything is a clean window. He's got 3.5 to 4 seconds. When we bust coverages, we give up more balls over the top, which is always going to be an issue in pattern match when guys are reading things and matching patterns and coverages based on the distribution of routes. What ends up happening is when you bust, unfortunately, in 7-on-7 is when you want to work on all those things. And if you're going to bust, let's bust now in the summer. But when you bust, you give up more throws over your head. But your underneath coverage windows are tighter and you give up less completion. So there's more, we get more pass disrupts and possibly, interceptions is about the same. Spot drop is more of a vision and break theory, so we have eyes on the ball. Pattern match is kind of it's a zone concept, but it turns into a man concept a lot of the time. But the throwing windows are tighter when we pattern match correctly. So, I always do that. I do it every year in our 7-on-7s, and I kind of keep a running tally off of our huddle clips that are filmed. And I go back and I look at it and I say, okay, well, when we were pattern match, we had this many busts, this many balls over the top, this many completions. When we were spot drop, we were this many busts, this many throws over the top, this many completions. I compare the two. And like I said, normally what I find is when we're post-safety defense and we're playing 3-deep and we're spot dropping 3-deep, we give up more completions, but we give up less throws over the top. When we play our pattern match stuff, we give up more throws over the top when we bust the coverage, but we give up less completions because the underneath component is matched a little bit tighter. So we're always going to carry both. It's not like I do the study so that I can research which one I want to cover, whether or not I want to play pattern match or 3-deep. We're always going to play both. 3-deep for us is how we close the middle of the field. So, it's not a study that I do per se to take a look at are we going to run one or the other. We're running both. It's just something that every summer I like to take a look at, and I like to see with our players, do the results hold up? And for me, they hold up time and time again. More completions in 3-deep, less balls over the top. Yes, you're at risk for 4 verticals, but our guys know 4 verticals are coming. We can midpoint There's no run read, so we can get some hands-on and reroute guys in the seam because you don't have run reads going on. So 4 verticals is less of a thing. I think 4 verticals to me is more of a thing in real games where guys have run reads and we can't collision seams as hard as we can. So you'll still get it in 7-on-7. Didn't really hurt us too bad the other day, but the ball was thrown underneath a lot more. So, that Patreon video will get loaded up after I do this video today and I load this to YouTube. The Patreon video will get loaded up to Patreon. And then tonight we've got a Zoom clinic at 8 o'clock with Jordan Belfiore, who's the defense coordinator at Colgate University. He'll be doing a Zoom clinic for me with all the guys that have registered for that Zoom clinic already. And then if you happen to watch this video and you're interested, you can email me, sting8740@gmail.com. That's STING8740@gmail.com. If you are interested in registering for tonight's Zoom clinic, it's $10. The Zoom clinics get recorded. You can be there live. You can watch it live. You can ask questions live. If you can't be there live and you register, you still get a link. It gets uploaded privately on my YouTube channel. And then off of my YouTube channel from a private link, I can get a shareable link and then I email it to everybody that registers. So you don't have to worry about screenshotting anything. You don't have to worry about stopping to take a picture. Anything that's up on the presentation, once it's up on YouTube, you can pause it, screenshot it, do whatever you want. So it helps the clinic flow a little bit easier when I do it on Zoom and then record it. So Jordan Belfiore will be talking some defensive stuff, Colgate University defensive coordinator. So the guys that registered have already got the link for the invitation tonight. If you're interested in registering, you can email me, STING8740@gmail.com. $10. You register, you attend live, I send you an invitation, and then you also get the link afterwards. So complete busy day for me today. Football in the morning, this podcast video, Patreon video, Zoom clinic tonight, and then at some point I'll head to the golf course and get a little practice in. I've got a 4-man scramble at the University of Florida course, which is a phenomenal course, phenomenal setup. Greens usually run at 11.5 to 12, depending on weather and when they've been punched. But, 4-man scramble, which I don't always love. It's still golf for me, and with football coming up, I cherish every opportunity I get to play golf. So it's not so much that aspect. It's the aspect that in a 4-man scramble, you're expecting to shoot some really low scores, and you're now expecting to hit every shot inside of 8 feet, and you're expecting to hit all the par 5s and 2, and you're expecting to make 4 putts, or make a putt because you get 3 looks at it. As the 8 player, I always get 3 looks. So what ends up happening is you make a lot of good swings, you hit a lot of good shots, and you're frustrated with the result in a 4-man scramble, but they're results that I would take every day of the week in my normal round. So golf is golf. Any chance I get to play is always truly appreciated. But at the same time, it's one of those deals where, in that setting, you're trying to go low in a 4-man scramble. If you're the A player, you're expected to hit a bunch of great shots. So you got to kind of keep your mindset right. So at some point today, I'll go out and practice a little bit, make sure driver's in good shape, then make sure my irons where they need to be, short game, and then dial into putting. Because for me, everything you do is a competition, right? So 4-man scramble, I don't care that it's a 4-man scramble. I am competing either way. So, competition is competition. So I will get out and practice for that, and then we'll have the Zoom clinic tonight. So pretty busy day. And then on top of that, today's the first round of the British Open, the Open Championship, right? So got my computer open, made a couple prop bets this morning. It's amazing how good Vegas is with their odds and with their lines. I had Xander Schauffele to shoot 69 or better. 69.5 was the line. He shot 70. I had Hideki Matsuyama to make 4 birdies or better. 3.5 birdies was the line. He made 3 birdies. So 2 prop bets. You lose by a stroke and you lose by a birdie. It's almost as if Vegas, just like football, baseball, everything else they do, the line is almost perfect every time that, it's just barely 0.5 above, 0.5 below. I miss out on Schauffele by a stroke. I miss out on Hideki by 1 birdie. So in the afternoon round, I've already got 1 in. Justin Rose, 3 bogeys or worse. He's already made 3 bogeys. Rory McIlroy, 4.5 birdies or less. I went less. I know that was a bold play, but right now, hanging in there. He's only got 1 birdie. Terrell Hatton is totally killing me right now. I had him at 3 bogeys or worse, and he is on fire right now. If I refresh this, he was 2 under. Where's he at? Still 2 under, so hadn't made a bogey yet. So 2 under there, and then I had Tony Finau, 2.5 bogeys or more. And my thought process behind that was the afternoon wave, maybe the wind will pick up, maybe the greens will dry out a little bit and make the course a little bit tougher. So I thought some of those bogey numbers on a link-style course where you could get a bad break with a great shot in a fairway bunker, I thought those bogey numbers were a little bit low. So that's the only reason I went that direction. I'm a McIlroy fan. So I'm not rooting for him to not make 5 birdies. It has nothing to do with being a fan or not being a fan. I just thought that number was a little bit high, even though he's in good form, winning the Genesis or last week. But and then the other guys, I thought those numbers were low. So there's no, there's no rooting against involved. It's minuscule, minor prop bets on an app that nobody's going to get hurt either way. Whether I lose the bet or win the bet, nobody's getting hurt. So it keeps. For me, it kind of generates an interest in the tournament. It's a major. I'm always going to be interested, but it's a way that I can generate a little bit more interest, and now I can follow whether I watch on TV or watch the replays, or if I keep my computer open while I'm uploading videos, I can come back and check who's got the lead and what's going on. And, you're actually seeing now Tommy Fleetwood and Lamprecht tied at the lead at 5 under. Got another guy at 4 under, and then you've got 5 or 6 at 3 under, a whole bunch at 2 under. And, anybody that watches the Open Championship understands that those courses are set up for weather to be a factor. So the greens normally run at 9.5 or 10, and they're never as fast as some of the greens you see at the U.S. Open or the Masters. And that's because a link-style course set up that way, if the wind blows 25, 30 miles an hour, they can't really handle greens that are running at 12 or 13. Guys won't even be able to mark their ball. So, those course setups, a lot of times when people look at it and they go, well, the USGA tries to protect par, and, the Open, it's more about the elements, right? So it's not so much them worried about how low guys can go. They're kind of at the mercy on the RNA side. With the course setup, they're kind of at the mercy of the weather because, those link-style courses are designed for the weather to be a lot of the protection, right? If you go out and play that link-style course with no wind, no rain, and the greens run at 9.5 or 10, and everybody can hold all their shots in, and then they can go ahead and hit putts firm, and there's not a ton of 3 putts out there, then the Open Championship is always going to see higher scores than the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open, I don't think they take so much, a lot of the times weather is an issue, but I don't think they take that into account to say that if we don't get weather, we're still going to protect the course. We're going to protect the course with tee boxes and pin placements and getting greens tricked out to be 12.5 or 13. And you always look at championships where the Open greens look brown and there's no water and shots won't hold coming into the green. So, the Open Championship is always a little bit different feel. And I just felt like in the afternoon wave, if the wind blew a little bit and the greens could dry out a little bit, there would be more bogeys. Right now, I don't necessarily think that theory is holding up. I think a lot of guys in the afternoon are doing some pretty good things. The guys in the morning put up some pretty good scores. You've got Scotty Scheffler right there again at 1 under, Koepka 1 under, Cantlay 1 under, Matsuyama 1 under. So, a lot of the usual names are there. Max Homa 2 under, Keegan Bradley in really good form at 2 under. So Jordan Spieth at 2 under. It'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting week. I love majors. I love, obviously golf, doing stuff on the Golf Channel. Last time we did this podcast, talked about how I was going to separate and make a completely different Golf Channel under the guise of Play Fast, but at the same time, it was going to be a different Golf Channel so that I could talk about golf in a setting that is on a different channel, so everybody interested in golf can go to that different channel. So, right now it's full go into football mode. So like I said, today is early morning football stuff. This video, Patreon video that I have to shoot and record on Zoom, talking about using clips from our 7-on-7 stuff, and then Zoom clinic tonight. So full football day today. Next week is the last week we have to wrap some things up with our installs, get ready for camp, get our roster set, JV varsity, who's who. Right now we've had the freshmen separate from the older kids, so now we've got to bring our sophomores back down with the JV group. get them to start working with the JV group, because that roster is 9th and 10th grade, not just freshmen for us. So we've got to separate the rosters next week, continue with our install, finish our workouts up strong. Next week's a testing week for us, so we are testing our guys in a bunch of our different tests that our strength coach uses. So end of the summer, see where we're at, see where the guys test out on, so that our strength coach knows the results that he gets and were they what he wants or not, and then we can tweak our program in the off season from there. So it's that time of year again. Football's getting ready to roll. So we're in that mode of full season grind, installs, practices every day coming up. We start July 31st, so right before school starts. We go back to school in about 2.5 weeks. So we're back in that world again. Summer's just about over if you're a teacher or a football coach. So we're back in that world, and when we're in that world, I'll still be doing YouTube videos. Obviously, they'll be a little bit less often, but I usually get more Patreon content out during that time, because I have video that I can use that I show on Patreon of us playing our stuff, and a lot of times I'll do at least one video a week on Patreon where I go drive by drive. I take you through 3 of our defensive drives, and I talk you through each call that we made, formation, how did we fit it, what was the route combination, what did we do good, what did we do bad. So during that time of year, the Patreon information usually picks up. The YouTube information backs off a little bit. I'm going to try and keep doing podcasts like this one during the season, and what I'm going to try and do is maybe pick a night out during the week where I sit down and talk about some college matchups that I'm intrigued in coming up, and then break down some of the schemes and say why I like it. This is, a spread team going against a tight 3-high team. This is a 3-high team going against a 21 personnel team. This is a tempo team going against a huge, substitution matching defense. So I think I'm going to do some videos on that. And then as the year goes on and teams are playing well, we'll do some videos on who's playing well, what's the flavor of the week, what's the hot scheme out there, how are the tempo teams doing, what's new in the RPO world, what are teams doing on defense to combat that. So, when the season comes, everything changes a little bit. The golf videos kind of go down a bunch. There'll still be some videos of me rolling. I still play either Saturday or Sunday morning. So, again, trying to qualify for the Senior Open next year, I have to keep playing and practicing. It's just very limited now. I won't get a chance to practice too much during the week. We'll be practicing later, daylight, and then daylight savings time, and clocks, falling behind when it comes time, or all those things will change. So the golf stuff will go down a little bit. I'm still working part-time on weekends rolling greens, so you'll still get some of the rolling stuff. But, it's that time of year where now, for me, the Patreon stuff kind of spikes a little bit. I think the podcast stuff will spike a little bit because I want to do other videos on matchups, NFL matchups, college matchups. The YouTube stuff kind of tapers off a little bit because there's only so much time I have in a week to do YouTube videos, and then the golf stuff tapers off. And then as soon as the season's over, I'm going to get full steam, 100% into One Box Up, the other YouTube channel that we're going to do with some of the golf stuff. So in the off season, I'm going to be putting together some of my ideas of things I want to do, different matches that I want to play, different matches that I want to film, different golf courses that I want to go to and see if they'll let me get on them and film, some content talking about the golf course, the setup, who the designer was, and, looking at some of the 19th holes and starting videos where we're in the 19th hole and we're showing golfers at this certain club, what the restaurant looks like, what the 19th hole looks like. So again, this is coming from the ground up. I'm going to have to get a lot of these courses to agree to it. Obviously, I have a few courses I know that I can use, but, so during the football season, I'll be kind of starting the groundwork of that channel and putting together all my ideas and trying to make sure I have a video guy rolling, because these videos with me pressing record aren't going to cut it in the golf world. So, that'll be done during the football season. I'll be planning on that, and then hopefully, if the weather's decent enough, there'll be some winter videos coming out January, February, and trying to get the golf channel off the ground and running. And then, again, trying to see if we can get the Play Fast Clinic live and rolling. So all those ideas, all those things are kind of navigating their way through my brain. I just have to find a way to make them all happen. But as far as the schedule of Play Fast, you can assume you'll still get some YouTube videos, maybe not as many. You'll probably get more podcasts like this than I've done. Well, more Patreon stuff. So the guys that are subscribers on the Patreon site, you're going to get more content, less golf content. The golf content's going to be more about putting my ideas together and trying to get the other channel, one box up, two off the first, breakfast ball, beer loop, whatever it may be, whatever we go with, putt it or mark it, whatever name we go with, that'll be the other channel. It'll be a Play Fast production. So that'll be what we got going on. One of the other things I wanted to talk about today was, I never really understood. I see some arguments on social media where guys are talking about different systems and how certain teams that got away from systems are now not having success, and it's a shame. And what I never understood with systems are, if you are somebody that's an advocate of a system, you are making a choice to use that system. And, when you make a choice to use that system, I don't really understand why you would question why somebody else chooses a different system. Whatever system it is you choose, it could be wing tee, it could be flex bone, it could be, air raid, it could be run and shoot, it could be 4-2-5, it could be 3-4, it could be 4-3, it could be quarters, it could be one high, rip liz match. You're choosing a system that you want and a system that fits you, that you think gives you a chance to win games. Well, when somebody else chooses a system, they're making the same decision. Whether that's right or wrong is going to impact how many games they win. But I just never got into how certain people can look and go, you know what, I can't believe they chose that system. Everything's been downhill with that system ever since. Well, if you're a proponent of a certain system and you believe in that system, you had the right to choose that system. So somebody else has the right to choose their system. And if you take smaller windows in time and you say that when they were running this system they were more successful, and now that they're out of that system they're not as successful. Well, if you're selling a system to somebody and you're making money off of it, obviously you're going to take those angles. The one that kind of drives me up the wall a little bit is the Georgia Tech one. And people are always talking about flexbone and option stuff and how good it was for Georgia Tech and how good Paul Johnson was, and I don't disagree with any of that. And now that they went back and got away from Paul Johnson and they got away from the option, they haven't had success. So obviously if you're an option guy, you can look at that and say that they made a mistake. I understand all that, but if they made a choice for a system, you really can't bash them for making a choice, because the last time I checked, Georgia Tech split a national championship in 1990 or 1991 with Colorado, I think, and I don't think they were flexbone triple option when they split the national championship. So if they had moderate success in the flexbone, but they were a different offense when they split a national championship, that wasn't, in my opinion, true flexbone, well then, everybody could argue, and I could go back and say, well, you know what? They never split a national championship into flexbone, but they did when they were running a pro-style offense. So I'm all for everybody having a belief in their system. I'm all for everybody selling their system. Anybody that knows what I do, I have never sold a system. I have never taken what I do. The Patreon subscription site and Zoom clinics that I was charging people for is the furthest I've ever gone. Obviously, the in-person clinic was like every other clinic, you had to register. But I've never sold a system. I've never sold, if we're type 3 high, I don't sell that as a system. If we're, hurry up, no huddle, spread, however you want to look at it. To me, I'm trying to take the best of every system and morph it into the best offense or defense possible, right? So, we certainly have some air raid principles in our offense. We certainly have some option principles in our offense. So I don't, sell a system to anybody, but I get it to where if people were marketing a system, you need to market the pros more than the cons, right? And anybody that was an air raid guy was always trying to market the Mike Leach stuff and everything else, and I don't have an issue with any of that. Where I have an issue is kind of where you go out and say that other people are wrong for the choice that they made. You don't agree with the choice they made. You don't choose to win games that way. But I think the beauty of football is there's so many different ways to skin the cat and so many different ways to win games. I don't think we necessarily need to be in one system. Now, if you choose a system for its consistency, for its carryover, for the belief that that system fits your kids, I don't blame anybody for doing that. If that's your style and you do that 100%. I've seen wing T national champions, state champions. I've seen flexbone national champions and state champions. I've seen air raid national champions and state champions. Hurry up, no huddle, 3-3 stack, odd 3-4, slant and angle, bear front. You know, if you look at all the state champions throughout the country, you're still going to see all those theories in there. So, you know, to me, to each his own. Use whatever system you want. If you're marketing a system for profit, and that's the deal or the world that you live in, well, yeah, I understand you talking about why people should use your system. But at the end of the day, if you have a choice to use your system, I really don't think you should be negative about somebody else's choice. Because, you know, they could, at the same time, they could be looking at a certain system and saying, you know, there's a reason why some of these flexbone teams have never won a national championship or have never done something else. You know, your system is your system. You choose your system. Sell your system. To me, it's like recruiting negatively, right? So, you know, sell me on why a kid should go to your school. Don't sell me on why a kid shouldn't go to another school. As a head coach, I always got turned off by negative recruiting. You know, come in the door and tell me why I should buy this car. Don't tell me why I shouldn't buy that one. You know, so it's all a mindset deal to me. It's all like a way that you approach it. And, you know, if you're an air raid guy and you are a big proponent of the air raid system, then talk about the air raid system and why teams should use it. But don't talk about why other teams are making mistakes choosing their system, because they could say the same thing about you, right? A wing T guy could come and say why you're making a mistake being air raid. And a 4-2-5 guy could say why you're making a mistake being 3-4, right? Or a Rip Liz guy could say why you're making a mistake being a quarters toolbox team. So, you know, I'm all for systems. I'm all for, you know, people marketing their system and you know, getting their system out. But to me, the better way to approach it is to talk about the positives of the system and not always look at the negatives, right? So, you know, like I said, the Georgia Tech one, yes, they haven't had great results since they went away from the flexbone. But yes, if you've been around long enough, you know that when they split a national championship, I don't think they were flexbone triple option in 1991 when they split the national championship with Colorado. So there's always a positive, negative spin you could put on it, right? So, you know, I agree with the fact that maybe getting rid of Paul Johnson wasn't in their best interest right now. It certainly looks like, you know, it wasn't in their best interest, but that's not fair to Brent Key. That's not fair to that staff that, you know, that's there now trying to win games. So, you know, to me, from the system world, I'm all for marketing a system. I'm all for promoting a system. If you're somebody who has books or videos or something on a system, I'm all for that. Just sell me on your system. Don't sell me on the negatives of this school is having these results because they went away from that system. You know, and again, I don't have an issue. I don't join those conversations on social media. I don't get in any of those conversations because they never go in the right direction. But, you know, to me, I just think it's okay to say why you do what you do and why you do what you do fits you and your kids. But when you're selling that to people, sell it that way. Don't sell it on, hey, look at this school. They were winning 7 games when they ran option. Now they're winning 3 or 2. You know, I just don't think that's the right way to sell it. You know, and you could put a different spin on it and say that maybe some of these schools made a mistake when they went away from a certain offense. I'm not going to agree or disagree with that. Myself, personally, with no dog in the fight, I just don't like the optics of it when somebody that's talking about a system negatively bashes another system. You know, we're all in our systems for a reason. You have beliefs in why you should run your system. Sell me on that belief. Sell me on why your system is better. Don't sell me on why they aren't playing well because they're not using that system anymore. And again, like everything I ever do, that is strictly an opinion. I am never going to get on social media and argue that. You know, at times I would like to make comments, but those arguments never go in the right direction. The 1 or 2 times that I have participated in something like that and given my opinion, it almost always ends in direct messages or retweets of, you know, things that just aren't worth it. So, you know, just my 2 cents on that though. You know, your system is your system. There's a lot of ways to win football games. You got to do what you believe in. You got to do what fits your kids. But when you sell your system, sell me on your system. Don't sell me on, hey, look at the bad luck and fortune these guys are having and the bad results they're getting because they went away from this system. Because anybody that has been around long enough can turn it, on its other end and say, hey, well, look at the results they got, 30 years ago when they were pro style. They haven't gotten those. Maybe they should go back to pro style, right? So, everything has an argument. Everything has a point, counterpoint, punch, counterpunch. But that's just something I noticed on social media the last 2 days that kind of, I wouldn't say upsets me. It's just kind of intriguing to me because I really don't think that's the right way to go about it. Promote your system, promote the positive of your system, but I don't think we need to bash another system of why it's effective or not effective. There's plenty of that's going to go on already. There's going to be fan bases and there's going to be websites and all these people talking about why a team should be 3-4, should be 4-3. The NFL conversation, you hear it all the time from people on websites on why their roster should be 3-4 and why it shouldn't be 4-3 and everything else. Well, if you're not one of the 15 guys in the room making game plan decisions, I don't know how much your opinion is going to be valued by the guys who are making those decisions. Now, that's not to say that some people are maybe right or wrong with their approach. Maybe the personnel would be better in a 3-4. Maybe the personnel would be better in a 4-3. Maybe we have our personnel that's more suited to be an air raid team. Maybe we have personnel that's more suited to be a quarterback run team. I'm not saying that you can't make that argument or bring those points up for people if you're running a website or, you have a weekly vlog or blog or something that you do. But at the end of the day, the guys in the room are going to make those decisions. And if it doesn't work, they're going to be the ones that lose jobs. If like in Jacksonville, if you have a website that you run on the Jags as a professional, a fan, every time the Jags change coaches, you can keep doing your website. Those coaches lose jobs. So, they're probably making decisions, whether we agree with them or not, they're making decisions that are ultimately going to impact their career. So you hope they make the right ones. And if they don't, it affects their career. If you write something on a website, if I do a podcast on my opinion, I can do a podcast on my opinion for the next 10 years, regardless of what staff is at Alabama or Jacksonville, or because, as a podcaster or a, video blog guy, we can still do those even though the quarterback changes, the offense coordinator changes, the head coach changes. And what makes it interesting is every time those changes happen, it provides more content for people. But really, the guys behind closed doors are the only ones that are going to make those suggestions. So, when it's a system deal, the people involved, head coach, coordinators, whatever, you need to choose what's best for your system, your kids in high school. And when you go with that system, let's sell that system. Let's not look and go, well, here's why they're not having success. They don't play tight 3 high. No, tight 3 high works for us. We had a great year playing it last year. We've got to wrinkle it a little bit this year because everybody's going to catch up to it. But I can't sit there and say that, 3-4, multiple 3 deep rotations don't work for people because they do. I can't say that, 4-3 quarters defense doesn't work because it does. I can't say that 4-2-5, just because I chose tight front 3 high and that's what we use, I'll tell you why I like it and what's good about it, but I don't think it's good business for me to sit here and tell you that, you should play that defense because other people are struggling with their scheme. Schemes sometimes are so conducive to players. Sometimes it's being in the right place at the right time. So, every scheme has its ups and downs. Every system has its ups and downs. So, to me, just something I thought about today. I never understood that when people look at the downside of something and go, that's why they should have stuck with this system or that system. I don't know if that's the right way to approach it. If you're a believer in that system, sell it, sell why it works, and talk about all the positives of it without bringing up the negatives, because once you do that, there's enough people that can go back and look throughout the course of history and go, well, look at this team running this system and they've never done anything. So just my 2 cents on that. So I hope you guys are having a great day. Hope the summer's going well for you. Again, a little bit of the schedule coming up. Might get another podcast video out this weekend because it is Major Championship, Open Championship golf-wise. Sometime, if I don't get it out over the weekend, it'll be Monday. There'll be a YouTube video out on our 6-man pressures, taking a look at how we delineate some of those and what the differences are in those families. And then if you are a Patreon member, there's a Patreon video coming out today. Zoom clinic tonight. So busy Thursday for PlayFast. Little change of venue with videos being shot in the front room at home, but that's so I could have the TV on, computer on, and they were doing work on the PlayFast studio, which is really a portable at school. They were doing work there, so I couldn't get in there. So again, I hope you guys have a great weekend coming up. If you're golfing, go out and enjoy yourself. If you get a chance to practice, go out and work on the things that are going to make you a better player. Don't take driver out and hit it 55 times. Work on short game, work on putting, work on course management. Work on how you get the back pins, how you get the front pins, all the things that you're going to need to address if you want to be a better player. If you're getting ready for fall camp and football, I'm going to tell you the same thing. Work on the things that you need to get ready for fall camp. Don't work on all the niceties. Don't work on all the wrinkles to say that this gadget play and this blitz and this. Let's get into our base systems. What do we need? What do we need to do to win games? And kind of approach it the same way, right? Let's know who we are. Let's know what we need to do to get better. Let's stay away from the shiny stuff that we think might help here or there. Let's just go to what really gets it done, whether it's on the golf course, football, doesn't matter what you're doing. At some point, there are quintessential, crucial elements that really get the job done, and we need to be able to stay laser focused, locked in on those. So appreciate you guys watching this. Again, this will go onto the podcast tab. If you are interested in watching these, then you know where to find them. If you thought that this was X's and O's, there was a little bit of football talk in there, but if you thought it was me on the board X's and O's, you should know right away when it's under the podcast. That's not what it is. Maybe in the future we'll do one like that. But, and again, just schedule coming up, what we got going on, what's going on with PlayFast. Always try to keep you guys updated with what we're doing, how we're doing it. If you want to be a part of the Zoom clinic tonight, Jordan Belfiore, defense coordinator at Colgate, email me, sting8740@gmail.com. Let me know that you want to be a part of it. I'll tell you how you can pay. They're $10. You can attend live, then you get a link afterwards. If you're interested in any of the other ones I've done, I've given those out for $5. So a couple of the other ones we've done, Noma Zone on offensive planning. My head coach, Tim Krause, on screen game. Devin Bice, the offensive line coach at West Alabama, did one on zone run game. Sean McIntyre, head coach here in Northeast Florida at Creekside High School, did one on drills and carrying drills from practice to games, doing drills of things that show up in games. And Atavis did a tackling deal, and I did a blitz family deal. So if you're interested in any of those, you can email me, and I can tell you how we can get you paid up, and I can send you the link for those. So those were all knocked down to $5. Tonight's live is still $10. So hope you guys are doing well. Hope your day is, if it's as busy as mine, I hope you get a lot of things done. If it's laid back, I hope you enjoy yourself and relax. But whatever you're going to do, remember, you won't do it well until you do it fast. See you guys next time.